Bitcoin and quite literally the entire stock market receiving a dump of giglical proportions. Moonboys worldwide are asking themselves, are we totally boned? But what if I told you we haven't even begun? This right here is not crypto, and it's also not the stock market. It is, well, the Japanese stock market, and this is also right here on the right, the US dollar and Japanese yen pairing. So massively, I'm sure many people are aware of kind of what was coming specifically after what happened on Friday. But this isn't just big. I want to reiterate, this is really big. So get signed up to BINGX below if you have any money left and want to buy Bitcoin. And without any further ado, let's absolutely dump on into what exactly is happening. If we look, the entire stock market, this is today, opened obviously quite a bit lower. Bitcoin's not even like the big picture here. Everything is getting destroyed. If you look on the right side of my screen, it's just straight red of everything, right? Extreme. So why? A lot of people point to what happened in Japan. I'm sure you've already heard about it a million times at this point over the past couple of days. Basically, if you sum it up, the Japanese borrowed yen because they had zero interest rates, buy an outside asset, and then they were making money, right? But then as soon as the interest rates were raised, this kind of started to unwind this carry trade. So I think personally, the bigger picture is that it's exposing how propped up the stock market and so many things are in general because of what happened a couple years ago. My opinion on this is that we are still absolutely dealing with everything that happened back in 2020. These are just some of the later effects, but all the money printing we had and then the restrictive policies we saw in the US and abroad as well, all of this is just it's all combining still into a basically a massive dump episode. Now, for me personally, I think Bitcoin is going to be a massive beneficiary of this in the future, but not right now. This right now, in my opinion, what looks to be happening is kind of like the eye of the storm, or it's the this is like the catalyst. This is the part that can be extremely messy. And myself and nobody on the planet knows exactly where the stock market will be in 1 week from now, or where all these assets will be in 1 week from now. But it's safe to say right now, we are in the danger zone. Absolutely, we're in the danger zone. This is basically, the way I think of it is basically this cycle's crash, COVID crash, like we saw back in, 4 years ago. This is basically, let's even just look at it actually on the weekly chart for the SPX. Remember back here at the very beginning of 2020, this to me is the closest, I think, scenario that we have had similar to that since then. So with that, there's absolutely no guarantee that, I think it's crazy for anybody to be saying definitively right now what they think is going to happen. I think it's crazy for anybody to say, like, they definitely know what they think is going to happen here, because this is a combination of so many different factors. It's really hard to pin down exactly like where we're heading in the very, very short term. If we look here, so we saw also Fidelity, E-Trade, Schwab, all of these, a lot of platforms are not even working, right? People can't place orders. They're glitching, quote unquote glitching, if it's intentional. But a lot of people can't even access their funds or make any trades. We also saw this, which I thought was interesting. Jeremy Siegel from Wharton School basically saying that he says a 75 basis point emergency cut he thinks is necessary in a federal funds rate, with another 75 basis point cut indicated for next month. That's crazy. So this is actually the first time I'm really thinking about this, because I just saw this a couple of minutes ago. First of all, that would signal immense panic in the market, right, if the Fed decided to do that. Keep in mind, I want to look at another thing actually. The VIX here is absolutely, this is the VIX, which indicates like volatility. We're about to see some volatility. Look how far I can go back. Last time we saw anything crazy like this was, the crash in March of 2020. So quite literally, pretty much this is the most explosive move we've seen in the last 4 years in terms of globally, panic-wise, in terms of true uncertainty, in terms of like a true black swan type event. So it's really big. It's actually insane as well. The CEO of Intel is quoting the Bible, which people are using as like an indication of, wow, like this is, I mean, it is kind of crazy, I guess. From what I read, apparently he quotes the Bible sometimes, but it is just crazy because, I think there's a lot of panic, absolutely, even from CEOs. I mean, look at this. It's red across the board. The thing is, I think this is kind of interesting because, again, the market collapsed, right? But no, it didn't go to zero. It's only down 75%, which for people in crypto is something we've seen, a million times. So far, the dump in crypto, if we're just looking at crypto, I don't think it's not really worth batting an eye over. However, the reason this is a bigger deal, in my opinion, is because everything is unfolding across the board, and it most likely will lead to longer term turmoil, similar to back in 2020. Now, I do want to say one more thing. Yeah, basically a lot of people are trying to guess exactly why it's doing this, whether it's the carry unwind from the yen, the Japanese yen, or job supports, whatever. What I do want to say is that usually moves like this, where it's straight down, these very crazy, even black swan type moves, are usually pretty not long lasting. Usually these moves get incredibly crazy to watch, very lopsided to one direction, this time being absolutely to the downside. But usually things equalize relatively soon after it finds its bottom, which I personally don't think we have yet. I think that still, I would say in the very short term, this is more of a falling knife scenario where, like, hey, if you're trying to bid every $2,000 drop on Bitcoin, you might get lucky and catch the exact bottom. But realistically, I personally think that so much of this has nothing to do with Bitcoin and crypto that if you have your lens focused on just crypto, you're going to miss the bigger picture, absolutely, and you're not going to make a good trade because this is a much more complicated thing. We have the US dollar index falling, we have gold falling, we have the stock market falling, we have crypto falling, we have quite literally like everything falling. The only thing that's rising, as I just said, is the VIX, and basically, it's just telling us that we're in crazy mode. We're in banana mode, basically. The VIX is basically going banana mode. So this is really interesting to watch. I am down immensely in terms of my portfolio, as I'm sure many holders of stocks, crypto, and most things in general are. However, I personally find this exhilarating a little bit. Not even a little bit, exhilarating because this is truly, and you've probably heard this a million times, it truly is where the opportunity is. And when these type of things happen, I'm conditioned at this point to like pretty much wet my whistle, start salivating a little bit because this is where the golden opportunities are. I'm not fearful at all. However, I understand the dire situation of potentially what we could be on the verge of. Okay, there's no confirmation yet that we're on the verge of something massive, even though it's very much more likely today than it was a week ago. But opportunity exists. Opportunity thrives in environments like this. And it just gets me way more excited than sideways boring price action because it looks as though finally we are not going to be seeing a lot of sideways boring price action. We're seeing the VIX explode, volatility coming back. The daily chart for Bitcoin, we're below all of our key moving averages, obviously on the daily. On the weekly chart, right now we had a bounce at about the 50-week moving average, so that'll be interesting to see. So far that technical level is still held up. It's right around 50K. Massive level, the next massive one is all the way slightly below 40,000 US dollars. So it really depends. It's kind of crazy to watch this. I don't remember, I guess the last time everything collapsed was maybe about 4 years ago, but it is kind of just crazy watching stocks, gold, the entire cryptocurrency market, literally like every stock, even the US dollar, the Japanese yen, the Japanese stock market is getting destroyed as well. Look at these charts. The Japanese stock market, Japanese yen, this is actually showing the yen's strength compared to the dollar, because the dollar right now is losing value against the yen because the Japanese are selling. But it's just absolutely, it's crazy to watch. And really, all this combination of everything, basically, to sum up the video, this is a huge, it involves everything. And basically, crypto is one of the smallest things in this story in terms of what's actually happening globally. So I personally, however, do think that crypto will benefit immensely from this when it rises from the ashes, inevitably, in my opinion. That time frame, what's crazy about it is it could be a couple weeks or even less, or it could be much longer. It really depends. Usually, though, with this type of moves, I'm genuinely curious. I want to see the Fed, if the Fed actually does come out and react, because it is kind of crazy to see Jeremy Siegel of Wharton's school coming out and saying that they should do a 75 basis cut now and then a 75 basis point cut next month, which right now it's just very likely that we will get a regular 25 basis point cut in September next month. But he's saying basically 5x or 6x that, right? He's saying, no, don't do a 25 basis point cut next month. Do 3 25 basis point cuts right now, and then 3 more next month. That's crazy, right? That would signal massive panic in the market. I'm actually going to read into this more. I'm curious why. I mean, I don't know if he's the most revered, if he makes the best calls or anything, but that's like the craziest thing, honestly, I've heard all day, is that calling for that much of basis point cuts. Will the Fed cut just to save people's stock positions? Probably not. And one funny thing I saw was I think even Nancy Pelosi somehow is not winning on this trade, which is indicative of how crazy it is. If that's actually true, if she's actually not like benefiting from this crash, then yeah, that's because she has all the inside information plus some. So it's kind of crazy if even she has not benefited, or even if she was not expecting this trade to go exactly like this. And get signed up to FEMEX below if you have any money left and you're interested in buying crypto at these absolutely very dumpy prices. Without any further ado, let's